Hello, and welcome to the Fresh Air Show. What is up, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Fresh Air Show.
Woo, yeah!
Oh, I hope Easter, it's been around, and
It's come and gone.
yeah. Now, for this podcast, I've just bounced back from a bit of a cold, so forgive me if I sound more depressing than I normally do. So,
I don't hear a difference.
anyway, how's Easter been for you guys?
It's been good, I think.
It's been alright?
Yeah. Now, once again, I've attended that church that happens at Easter, and surprisingly, things are still just as random.
Really?
Yeah, because, like I've mentioned in the Easter podcast last year, I like attending, even though I don't go to church every Sunday, I still like attending the special masses because you can learn quite a few things. And one fact that the priest sort of taught us, and it's one that one that sort of blew my mind, is that one of the reasons that our weeks are 7 days long, it's to do apparently with the 6 days of creation. Because apparently God made the universe in 6 days and rested on the seventh.
Sunday.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that since primary school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's not the weirdest thing that happened there in the church, because last year there was a guy who pronounced the word name as nam. I'm sure you might remember that. Yeah. And there was another person with a weird voice. Now, the mass always starts outside if the weather's nice, and you all light up your candles and make your way inside. And the thing is, I'm normally staring at my candle because, I don't want it to drip wax on me or make sure it doesn't go out, etc. And so, all while this is happening, there's this one guy at the altar and who's singing a long sort of hymn, and because I'm staring at my candle, I'm not paying much attention, even though I'm listening to the lyrics, and he sounded like Kermit the Frog singing that hymn, because I don't know, every time he had to pronounce the letter E, he almost sounded like he switched into Kermit the Frog's voice. Through him and with him and in him, in the unity of the Holy Spirit. It's like it's just some.
I would absolutely attend church if Kermit the Frog was the one singing and doing all the talking. That's the only reason I would attend church.
Yeah. If priests had different voices, then I think
a lot of people would go to church more.
Yeah, because it's like how the Muppets sometimes make a story more understandable in their own way, because in a Muppets Christmas Carol, they made the original seem a lot more heartfelt, because, it's got Kermit and Miss Piggy acting out deep scenes, so yeah.
It makes everything that much happier, is what you're saying. So, are you saying if they did the crucifixion with the Muppets, it would be happier?
I think it would just be hilarious.
Like, you've got... I can just imagine, like... I don't know. You've got like the Swedish chef as Pontius Pilate, like read this bush, the birth of beast of Jesus, crucify him, crucify him. What do you, Jesus? What do you have to say for self-defense? Me 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 me. And they just nail Beaker.
I'd watch that. I'd watch that.
Excuse me.
And I'm guessing Kermit would be Jesus.
Well, maybe.
I think we're getting into dark territory here now.
What? The story's already dark enough. You got a man being nailed by his hands and feet to planks of wood, so they teach that to kids, guys. So.
We have no intention of insulting Christianity, just to clarify.
Yeah.
I do have to admit that sometimes when you break it down to the bare bones of what it is, it does sound a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like when you break religion down to its bare bones, like there's an invisible man living in the sky who has a list of 10 things he does not want you to do, and if you do one of those things, then he will cast you into a pit of fire where you will suffer for all of eternity. But he loves you.
Because that is an interesting topic, because like, remember when Moana came out?
Yes.
A lot of people, yeah, as good as it is, a lot of people were originally concerned with Maui's portrayal in the trailers.
Yeah, because of his figure or personality.
Well, I guess sort of both, because for those who don't know, Maui was and supposedly is a real person in Polynesian mythology, and it's pretty hilarious how Disney portrays like this almighty being as a cocky sort of singing and dancing jock. Like, imagine if they did the same thing to Jesus, if they made a sort of a Christianity movie or something.
I don't think they'll touch that one with a 20-foot pole.
So what was that you were going to see around?
I was going to say that in mythology, Maui was a trickster god, so it kind of makes sense how he would have like a kind of personality.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm better than everybody.
So Disney's there going, what can I say except you're welcome?
For this accurate portrayal of Maui, maybe possibly.
That worked really well. That was good.
Yeah. Another thing that sort of happened during that Easter Mass, like, you can probably tell from my voice that I still have a bit of a twang of that cold. And I distinctly remember during that Mass, when it came to singing the hymns, because my throat was all like blocked up with phlegm and such, occasionally my voice would just cut on me. Like, one minute I'd be talking and then the next, you know, like it would just happen out of nowhere, like where it would just cause me to cough, like. And one of the most painful things that I remember is that there was this singer behind me and my mum, and let me tell you, when this guy sings, he had a really good voice. Like, why are you singing all the way here? You should be up at the front singing. And you can tell he had a cold as well, because his voice was cutting out as well. And I was like, just stop, don't do this to yourself. You're too good of a singer to be suffering like this. So yeah, I felt so bad for that guy. Like, just take it easy, man.
You were like, don't ruin that beautiful voice. Stop.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So yeah, that was the Easter Mass, which led very nicely into Easter morning. So, and once again this year, Rowan cycled to my house to deliver an Easter egg.
Oh.
They'll give me a heads up when you give me an Easter egg so I can buy one beforehand.
Well, in college we still had like a week left before, Easter actually started. So
What Easter egg did she get you? What did you get him, Rowan?
I got him a Malteser one, I believe.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, I should have made predictions. That's exactly what I thought you would have got him. I don't know
Yeah.
what.
Sonic! Sonic, and I have the window closed.
Sonic wasn't at mine this time. He's getting around fast.
Of course he is. Sonic.
Exactly.
So yeah, something that happened this year surrounding Easter. Remember the pufferfish bunny that we brought up last time?
I feel like if we did, that was when we made the butterfly fly trap combo.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, my aunt and uncle had tried attaching it to the fence, and it's blown away now. So the pufferfish rabbit's gone. He's free now.
Yes. So if you see a flying pufferfish anywhere, audience, then please leave a comment and let us know where it's ended up.
Yeah. Something tells me he's reporting back to his superior. Dudley, you wouldn't happen to know of any of that, would you?
Unfortunately not. I have a better taste in lackeys.
Excuse me? A flying pufferfish sneak staff.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have any idea how amazing that would be?
Well, then clearly it's working under Black Leopard.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What? Oh, look over there.
Oh my god! Oh no! Oh.
You're listening to The Fresh Air Show. So, something very interesting that happened between the last podcast and now is that apparently there was a bit of an odd animal sighting in our area.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And to start it off, let me tell you the story of what happened when my dad was coming home by taxi one night. And he like I say, he was in a taxi getting close to our estate, and he was approaching the corner where you enter our estate, and suddenly they spot an animal near the road, and they were like, "Uh-oh, look, there's a fox there, better be careful." And so the taxi driver slows down, and suddenly my dad and the taxi driver get a better look at this thing, and wait, that doesn't look like a fox. And my dad was thinking, isn't that a badger or something? Or at the very least an American badger?
Oh.
And they were really fascinated by this encounter, and I was like, yeah, good for you. Like, you believe in something that's actually out there, like me. So, and
Well, you got freaked out by it, did you?
no, I'm just fascinated by like strange alien creatures.
Occurrences.
And when I mean alien, I mean like animals you wouldn't normally find in a certain place. And eventually we start researching, like maybe it was a cat or something. And suddenly on Facebook there are tons of posts how they finally captured this animal. And what was it? It was a raccoon dog.
Dog.
A tanuki.
Oh.
So yeah. Apparently the story there was, I don't know, there was some guy who was keeping them as exotic pets, or they were part of an exhibition or something. And someone had stolen them, or they had escaped, or someone let them go. And so yeah, it was a pretty fascinating discovery here. Like, you don't see wild raccoon dogs here in the UK. So
Yep.
yeah.
I had a friend show me a video recently asking, like, you just see it cut across an alleyway end, and you think, It looked like a fox, but it also looked a bit small to be a fox, like it was a greyhound sort of size, and we were kind of looking at it like, what is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah. And this encounter, which I wasn't even a part of, had me on the lookout for other strange animals. And excuse me. And so I was out walking the dog one day, and because we live near a foresty area, I saw in one neighbour's garden as we passed it, there was a squirrel there. Like, oh hey, a squirrel! You don't see that every day. And we were coming out of this other person's estate, because it's a good Pokemon Go site. And this estate comes out onto like the sort of T-shaped bigger road, and suddenly from the left side of the road I see like this large grey canine looking thing, like, whoa, what is that? And I thought, is that a wolf? And then then his owner came around the corner soon, and I'm like, God dang it. Like, I really thought I'd seen something, an out of nowhere animal myself, but no, it was just some random person's dog.
Well, if it had been a wolf, you would have definitely known.
Yeah.
Think about how big a wolf is. It's bigger.
So yeah, have any of you had any out of nowhere animal encounters?
I've well, we're out in the middle of nowhere, so one afternoon we looked up one of the trees we've got in the middle of our yard, and there was a parrot in the tree.
Ooh.
And that kind of caught me off. I was like, what? And there's like this little red one, so it could have been just flying about, or it could have been someone's lost pet. We didn't know, but it was kind of like, oh, interesting.
Before you said it was like a red parrot, I honestly thought it was going to be like those ringneck parakeets, you know, the escaped ones that live free in London.
Yeah, well, I did wonder if it was like one that migrated or, you know, came from that direction at least.
Well, still, it's a fascinating encounter, so... what about you, Rowan? Have you encountered anything?
Any strange animals?
Mm-hmm.
Not recently, although it was probably quite a few months ago, but I saw like a pair of deer running up the road in front of my house. That was different.
Wow.
Yeah. It was funny because I was just going out on the bike, and my dad is a postman, and he was at the house next door, and I was just like, hey Dad, how's it going? And then I turn around and I see two bouncing brown figures bounding up the road, and I'm thinking, are those dogs? And it turns out it was not a pair of dogs, it was a pair of fluffy deer sprinting up the road, and I was like, oh, hey Dad, check this out. And he turns around and he's like, huh, that's different. And then they bounded off up. And then I went to where
Don't say that,
going.
Rowan. It's classified information.
Oh.
They bounced.
Censor me out there.
Yeah. So they bounced up the hill, and you know, I was kind of expecting. Were you on your bike while the deer were going up the street?
I was sort of pushing it around the corner, just about to get on it when they started coming up. So,
I was sort of thinking like if you cycled alongside them, it would have been like that scene in Jurassic World where you have like Chris Pratt's character riding his motorbike with his velociraptors. So.
No, probably not. Wouldn't have been able to keep up. They were going up a hill, and I was on a bike, so...
Yeah.
I just remember the really quite a freaky encounter I had once, actually.
Ooh.
So,
Oh?
yeah, so I was in town once, and I thought, I'm feeling a bit hungry, so I could really do with something. So what I've got a choice of, I've got Chinese, I've got KFC or something, so I thought, I know, I could really go for a KFC. So I walked up the road, got to the KFC, and I heard this sound that sounded a bit like a roar, except it wasn't like a roar, it was kind of like a bunch of roars, and I thought, what the heck's that? And then suddenly I looked at the roof, and this 11-headed dragon was looking at me.
Oh, come on.
It was only a matter of time.
Okay, I got to ask, who was expecting it?
Like, I honestly, just as soon as you say 11-headed dragon, suddenly I know. It's another encounter we wish could happen. Like,
when I said I heard roars, I realised you were smiling, and I thought, oh, is Dan twigged where this is going?
yeah.
I can't top the deer story, unfortunately.
So, let's see what else happened. Oh yeah, at Easter, this week, we were celebrating at my aunt and uncle's house, and my uncle, he's a barrel of laughs, and he has a habit of dressing. So he dresses for the occasion in a really over the top way, because at Christmas he has a habit of wearing like this Buddy the Elf costume from, well, Elf, because Elf's becoming a cult classic. And
much to my mother's despair.
she hates it, I'm guessing.
Yep, despises it.
Wow. But anyway, when it comes to Easter, he has an Easter bunny costume.
Yay!
Now, it's not professionally convincing. It's just, it's a person in a bunny costume. And let me.
I should hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. And I was inside at the time because it was pretty hot outside, and I'm not one for the sun. And I remember seeing one of my nieces running in, and she was crying her eyes out, and I think, yep, that was predictable. Because giant bunny creature comes out into the garden, and yeah, because even I know that's not going to go well with the younger children, because like what I've said before, like going to Disneyland is pretty terrifying because everyone's proportionally the wrong size, and seeing this giant bunny from a kid's point of view, it's pretty scary. So yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's-esque.
Just be glad let's just be glad he wasn't
I wonder
wearing
how many children have been like that since Five Nights at Freddy's came out. Whenever they see like someone in a bunny costume or a bear costume, they're like, Freddy!
Because Five Nights at Freddy's is almost an Easter-esque game, because you've got Bonnie the Bunny, Chica the Chick, and oh god, if people started wearing those costumes around Easter, then blimey.
Those nerds would go insane.
In the games, the characters have these little cute plushies. And recently I've been going to shops and seeing them for sale for kids, and I keep thinking to myself, if the kids looked up the origin stories for these, they might get traumatized. Not as traumatized as if they watched Watership Down, but they're just a skin away like that.
Yeah. I was actually at the park the other day, and I saw a kid with like a bunch of those little toys with Chica, Freddy and Bonnie, and even Springtrap.
Jeez.
Like, and I was just like, interesting choice there, little boy.
I did actually
Trap.
I did actually buy a shirt recently with the plushie Foxy on the front saying "It's me," and I thought, and since then I've been like watching a couple of videos on it, so it's quite funny actually.
I've seen those plushies before in stores, and let me tell you, sharing their shelves are a bunch of stuffed prank animals, which I don't remember what they're called, but basically they look cute and innocent on the outside, but when you're holding,
Yes.
I think I know what you're going.
Yeah.
Where you're going.
yeah, where the parents are sort of holding them like you would, like you were offering them to a child, and suddenly they press these two buttons on the back where their eyes suddenly turn into a skull, and they reveal sharp fangs in their mouths. And,
I've seen adverts for those, and it is hilarious.
yeah.
I think they're called, to memory, the word beast springs to mind. I think that's what they're called. But I have to say, on a personal note, I don't like videos where on YouTube they make kids cry for the, for fun. Like, even when it's like, yeah, I remember you saying that you liked stuff like that before, actually. But it's like, when you see videos at Christmas and the kid think that they just got an orange, and it's like, they're making out, if kids weren't spoilt these days, then they'd be happy to receive an orange. I get that, but don't make the kids cry for YouTube watches. It's like, why?
Because reactions are going to be pretty.
Avocado.
Thanks. Because that's at the very top end of the goods section, and then it comes to the very bottom where they're just angry. Like, here's a 3DS, here's a number 3, here's a letter D, here's a letter S.
Yeah, stuff like that.
So yeah,
I think we're seeing Rowan's evil side in this video.
I remember this one, like, I'm not sure where it was from, a Vine probably, but it's like this guy, and he gets a bunch of gifts from his mum, and he's just like, "Mum, these boxes are empty." "I know, now you can put all your stuff in them and move out."
Jesus Christ. Ugh.
House.
Going on a separate note for Easter. Now, this is quite obscure, so I wouldn't blame you if you hadn't seen it. Have you ever seen this animated Easter movie thing called Peter Cottontail?
I've heard of Peter Cottontail, and I think I've had one of the picture books in the past.
Same here, yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know if it was actually. I didn't know if it was actually based on an old character or anything, but like, all I remember is the premise is like Jack Frost, who's a girl, so it's Jackie Frost. She tries to take she wants everything to stay as winter, and the villain, like a old villain they used to have, was called Irontail, not to be confused with the Pokemon move, and the character was voiced by Roger Moore. And I was thinking yesterday, when I was thinking on Easter, I wonder if that would ever come on again, because the only reason I saw it was because Sky was showing a lot of different like movies at the time, and instead of it being Peter Cottontail, it was Moonraker. So can't argue with that, but it was like, just in case anyone's seen that movie, it's an interesting little thing there.
But isn't it strange how as soon as there's a movie with a bunny in it, immediately we associate it with Easter? Like, why? Just because somebody's named Albert Fish doesn't mean he lives at the bottom of the ocean.
It was a lot better of a movie than Hop.
Yeah. Now,
I saw Nostalgia Critic did a review of that. Haven't watched it, but
yeah, I haven't been I haven't really been admiring critics' videos recently, to be honest. So I've stayed away from that one.
Now, I've seen Hop quite a number of times because for a while it's the only Easter Bunny movie. Now, I agree with Critic. For the first few minutes, it genuinely feels like it's leading up to a good, whimsical Easter movie. But then it suddenly dives into the plot of, oh, this guy needs to get a job, and his family want him to move out, and what does this have to do with Easter? If any,
that's like a teenage world problem.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a movie for kids, isn't it?
Yeah. If anything, Ready Player One's become the new definitive Easter movie for me, because it revolves entirely around finding an Easter egg.
Of course, every one of these movies has to have a poop joke, like, oh, Hop poops candy, yay! Or Yogi eats a witchetty grub, or something like that, I don't know. So, I'm just hoping Detective Pikachu doesn't have anything beyond Pikachu saying he wet himself in front of a girl and saying, get me the hell out of here, which is quite funny, to be honest.
It's all about the timing, isn't it?
Yes. You are listening to the Fresh Air Show. So, everyone, Thursday, Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
Are we excited?
Excitement.
Yep. I'm excited, but I'm also terrified as well.
Oh,
because
terrified.
After what happened at the end of the last movie,
You
considering
those memes?
considering how many characters, and
Bit the dust.
oh god, Ron,
That was good.
ugh.
Funny one.
Anyway, the characters that are left, I'm really concerned for them. Even though Captain Marvel and Ant-Man are joining the fight now, I'm terrified. Like, what's gonna happen to them? I have a feeling Iron Man's not gonna last much longer after Thanos stabbed him with the sword.
Oh, but he sprayed himself with get well juice, so he got better.
He's fine. He's fine.
Of course, though, my prediction is he'll die in this one.
Because, it kind of is pretty obvious. Because not many people can survive, a sword ramming them through their kidneys. Like,
That's all to the kidney.
But then again, every prediction I had going into Infinity War was rejected. So I can't trust my assumptions to this film anymore. Well done, Marvel. You made a movie that I couldn't predict, and that's not meant to sound sarcastic. I'm actually being like, well done. That's really good.
Because sometimes you can really see where a movie's going to go just by like one line someone says, like, "Oh, that's what's going to happen."
Yeah.
Like if there's say a rather nice soldier, say, talking about his family and how much he loves his wife and how much he can't wait to get home. It's just like, you're dead. You're straight up dead.
Yeah. A good example of that is a movie I saw for the first time recently, Forrest Gump. Because there is a scene where Forrest goes to Vietnam and he makes friends with a fellow soldier, and he has dreams of opening up a number one shrimp restaurant in his hometown, and you can tell where that goes.
It's as soon as they start talking about dreams and family, you know that they're gonna get a knife in the face.
I have to say, there was a point in have you both seen How to Train Your Dragon 3?
I haven't yet, because my bloody cinema card expired at the start of the year, so I've got it now.
I haven't gotten around to downloading it, so...
No. Okay, well, I won't spoil it then. I'll just say this. There's a lot of cutesy moments between two characters at the start of the film, and then I thought, wait a minute, this seems to be setting up for, oh no, it's going to be one of those kinds of films. I've got to brace myself.
It's going to be tragic.
Yeah. I'll say it, not tragic, but that's all. That's another thing. I will. I won't say anything else. But another thing is that when I woke up this morning, I saw a trailer for the Queen's Corgi that has Donald Trump in it, and but ignoring that fact, the whole trailer looked predictable as heck. Like that's what we're going for. It's like, I mean, yeah, I have predictions. I mean, but if I make predictions and they come true, I don't end up disappointed. It means because if I like them, that is. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened between this podcast and the recent one is I recently went bowling with some of my old high school mates, and no matter who you are, you can't resist a good round of bowling, right?
Yeah.
And it was quite a lot of fun, and now Andrew, he's the sort of person who acts completely on a whim, and we all love him for it. And it came to even though the people who have their own lanes, including ourselves, even though we have our own lanes, we're not against each other. We're just bowling and having fun. And we were the second last lane from the border wall of the building, and there was another group of people from the youth club that I go to, and one of them decided to get out like those little, like those little ramps for kids where they like put where you stick the bowling ball up and it slides down and suddenly you have an instantly straight shot. And for some reason, I think this is why, because they didn't have like the barriers up, unlike us, because we like showing off techniques, like it bounces off the barriers and we instantly get wins. And excuse me, I remember Andrew at one point saw someone setting up the ramp for their shot, and then they go back to choose a bowling ball, and so Andrew sneaks up and just nudges the ramp to the right, and they didn't even notice, and all of us are now watching this one guy. He brings his bowling ball, he slides it down the ramp, and he completely misses. Because he did this. Andrew did this again, like when one of our other members from the youth club was getting annoyed that he was in last place and decided to use the ramp for the first time, and Andrew nudged it again. And let me tell you, that same guy, he at one point was so determined to get into the lead that he actually took a run. He had several runs up to the lane, and one time he bowls the ball straight into the gutter. Like it just scrapes against the barrier and the wall, and it just stops halfway. Like, you did that. And what was worse is that on his next run, he accidentally. You know how in Wii Sports, if you accidentally swing the ball backwards, the Miis that are in the building all make that jump and go, "Ah!"
Yeah.
We did that.
That's quite funny.
Because he drops his ball, it rolls backwards, and me and Andrew and the rest of us, we all jumped up and went, "Ah!"
Did a twirl.
Yeah.
I was about to mention Wii Sports, funnily enough, because you saying about bowling reminded me of it. And do you know about the secret bomb trick?
Yeah. I've been on YouTube long enough to know about it.
Ah, okay. But I'll just let the audience research that themselves.
Alright. So, any stories where you played games in public and they just are against you?
I know there was once, well, something not so against me, but you know in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when they're being chased by all the ships and it's like an arcade
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
in. And there's that one guy who's got that group of people behind him and they're all cheering him on. And then when he loses, they're all like, "Oh, you're rubbish," stuff like that. That is
So
well
weird.
done. Yeah, well done to Marvel because they nailed that. Because people, even I,
They know what gamers are like.
yeah, because that happened to me once in a youth club I used to go to. Because I was playing back when the PS2 came out. We're talking ages ago. They had everyone at that youth club was playing Jack and Daxter, but we could never get enough power cells to get past the middle boss of the game. And at home, I'd got Jack and Daxter, and I'd managed to do it. So I thought I'd show off. So I went up to that boss, and I'm battling the boss like for the first run against him. And I had a good 7 or 8 people behind me watching it, epic music playing, all that stuff. And basically, I shot the last fireball to defeat the boss while jumping in the air, and it took the boss out. And then as it hit the boss, I landed in the lava, which is instant death.
Oh no.
But because I beat the boss, it still beat him when I came back to life, and he'd already been beaten. But when I landed in the lava, everyone who was there, like, watching me was kind of like, ha ha. And I was like, how? That was horrible. How dare you?
Because, I don't know, maybe it's just how the world sees victory now. Like, history is written by the victors, and oftentimes they root for the person who could be the victor, but when they ultimately don't win, it's like, who were we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, is it, would you say this is a sad view of the world that if, you know, when someone does something amazing at the game, like, in a game, like, oh, I managed to beat that person, it was awesome, people go, yeah, they're not interested unless they're the ones who did it.
Yeah.
Or do they root for the friends?
Maybe. So, Ryan, any stories like that?
No, not really.
Alright.
For the most part, in the early days, it was me watching my brother play, and I was just kind of like watching TV while he played. Sort of, well, not watching TV, but watching him play like it was TV.
Right.
What would he play?
He would play games like Metal Gear Solid, Maximo, Okami, all kinds of stuff. Metal Gear Solid was one of his favorites.
Yeah. I should know because he has the classic alert sound effect as his notification on his phone.
Yeah, actually, that's his ringtone. The notification is that little
Yeah.
I still haven't played Metal Gear.
skeleton.
I'm Randy Newman, and you're listening to the Fresh Air Show. I'm Randy Newman. Well, it's time for another segment of the month's most ridiculous headlines.
Deep.
All right. In
What we got?
this month's news, a woman has jumped into a zoo barrier to take a selfie with a jaguar, only to end up severely mauled.
No surprise there.
Yeah. There's a
I
real...
want to know,
What point?
who would do that?
I know.
At what point do you think I'm going to jump in with the giant angry cats? What a great idea! Thanks, me.
Is that legitimately real?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of, I'm gonna stick my head on a hornet's nest to get a good picture.
Exactly.
Now, there's some continuation to this story in that, thankfully, the panther has not been put down. So that's good news when the animal survives. So.
Did the lady survive?
Yeah, she did.
That's good.
And she has the nerve and trying to say, oh, they need to put better safety precautions in the zoo.
There are safety precautions. You went over them.
I know, it's like...
You silly fool.
It's like...
Please, no selfies with jaguars signs.
Because it's
Yes.
like how if they eventually bring dinosaurs back to life... Now,
Ugh.
it wouldn't surprise me if they put a 10-meter long barrier between us and, say, the T-Rexes. Because I might be a nervous wreck, but I'd like to stay far away from a T-Rex as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So...
And still someone would find a way to get in it and then blame it on other people when they get hurt.
Yeah.
The velociraptors would just open the door.
Yeah.
Wearing sunglasses and sporting Cobra cars or something. I don't know.
Release the raptors.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that because this next headline is dinosaur related.
Oh my. Is Jurassic Park finally happening?
Well, Jurassic Park star Jeff Goldblum has come out against bringing dinosaurs back to life.
I would say he would.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Several movies about why that's a terrible idea.
Now, Jeff Goldblum, I don't blame him for not wanting to bring dinosaurs back. I mean, he was nearly trampled by a T-Rex in at least 3 movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't blame him for being sour towards bringing dinosaurs back.
Question: Would you be happy if they made Pikachu real through scientific means?
I think it all comes down...
Does it have electricity power?
Yes, but probably really subdued. Like maybe the cheeks would be like a back massager sort of electricity rather than 10,000 volts or something.
Or maybe it's...
Well, in that case, yes.
Maybe it's like how cats work. Like if... Because when they're like grabbed at like the scuff of the neck, suddenly they just go limp. Like maybe there's something similar to disable the electricity or something.
What's the thing to make? I'm just thinking, as much as it would be cool, what sort of experimentation would have to go into making the Pikachu? That's the scary thing, you know. It's like, like. I mean, this is all hypothetical, obviously. But But then, I mean, they've even did you know they made pigs that can glow in the dark? But it doesn't affect the pigs. But when they're in the dark, they glow green because they've been given the jellyfish gene to glow in the dark.
Yeah, I've heard similar stories. Like they've tried that on mice. They always use...
Why can't they do that on us?
They always use white mice because it's easier to see their veins. So yeah. Anyway, here's the next headline. Parents in the US are claiming Peppa Pig is causing their kids to develop British accents.
There's been a lot of stuff on the news recently about how popular Peppa Pig is.
Now,
yeah, isn't she like a gang symbol in China or something?
I've never heard that.
I'm pretty sure. I read that somewhere.
We'll probably look into that for the next one.
That's the most threatening gang I've ever heard of. Oh,
I'm Peppa
what gang are you taking over? We're the Peppa Pig.
This is my little brother George. Now, I can understand this claim because, for those who don't know, I am actually born and raised in Scotland, but due to watching so much American TV programs, I've sort of developed like this mid-Atlantic accent that's sort of hard to put your finger on.
Yeah, I had the exact same problem when I was little. I talked with the heaviest American accent because I watched like Dexter's Lab and all those cartoons, and Mum
idiot.
hated it.
But I have noticed that about Daniel is that when he's not in videos and he's talking in general, he's more Scottish accent sounding, and in the videos it sounds more, I don't know, I guess American accent. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like the TV voice, isn't it?
Yeah. And I often like doing this to annoy my brother, but I think I've mentioned before that the only time I've been in America was that one trip to Florida when I was like 5 or 6. Now, my brother was like 3 or 4 at the time, and um, I like thinking because I sort of know my accent is different to the people I live around. I often like pretending that, oh, I used to live in America for a short period of time, and that's how I developed my accent. And my brother was like, no, it's because you watch too much TV. And I was like, who's old enough to remember this? So
Okay, going back to the ridiculous headline thing with Peppa Pig, I'm just looking at this now, and it says, and I quote, China bans Peppa Pig because she promotes gangster attitudes.
gangster,
2nd of May, 2018.
What?
I mean, that's last year, but, you know.
It's just,
there you go.
I mean, China's banning is just getting ridiculous. Like, they've banned, like, Winnie the Pooh and Donald Duck because they're not wearing pants.
I mean, that's kind of fair.
I know a lot of people don't like. There's some people out there who don't like characters like in Zootopia because they don't believe anthropomorphic animals should be a thing, like because it makes them too similar to humans and things.
Yeah.
So anything you can think of where animals are stood on 2 legs when they'd be 4-legged, they don't like. And wearing clothes and talking and stuff. So,
You're no longer the dominant species on the planet. And the last headline that I have, just to finish this Easter one off on a pretty good note, or bad note, depending on how you look at it. Chickens. A group of chickens have ganged up to kill a fox.
No! I love foxes! How dare they?
Your last chicken, governor.
What's that? Isn't that like... oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know. I just came up with a random accent and a random line, and I was just like, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, that was funny.
I can understand that group of chickens, because naturally, when you're number one on a fox's menu, you tend to get pretty annoyed.
Well, I mean, are chickens born knowing that foxes are out to kill them?
Well, I think an animal. I think they at least know. I think from studying an animal, like they witness it killing another up close, they can sort of recognize that, oh, this animal is dangerous and can't be trusted, so next time we'll be prepared.
Okay, so this is like that story that Jack Sparrow says in Pirates of the Caribbean, where you see when a fox gets into a chicken pen, they kill every chicken because what they plan to do is come back for the others later to bury them. And some people think they kill all the chickens just out of spite, but they actually do plan to come back, but the farmers already got there by then. But it's like that story in Pirates of the Caribbean where all the chickens died, and it's like, all the chickens died. So where did the stories come from, I wonder?
Yeah. Like, we don't talk about the vulpus type here. We just want to lay our eggs in peace.
Nice use of the Latin name. I liked that.
Yeah.
But I've always been Team Fox. Even like I never used to like the fox hunting idea. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just love foxes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, every
There's
animal.
a fox that eats outside of my uncle's house. Like, he lays out bowls of chicken for it, and I've seen it up close, and it's weird because you think foxes have like this sly, like narrow-eyed look, but when you look up at them, they have these big brown eyes, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he's a cute little predator of killing of chickens.
Yeah, they are. Red foxes are a British icon, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or a UK icon. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But will they show up in the next Pokemon game? Only
Good,
time will
I
tell.
was just thinking that, but I thought I won't bring up Pokemon again because that'll be the 1000th time I brought it up today.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got enough footage for this month, guys. So, anything you want to close out with?
Yes. The chocolate quantity was good.
Yeah.
Good.
You know, one last thing I want to bring up regarding Easter is that they recently released a 3D CG version of Watership Down, and so I'll be watching both versions of them just to see how terribly timed they are. Like, if they are dangerous to show kids around Easter. So
I feel like I brought this up in the last podcast, or I told a friend, and I haven't brought this up here at all. But the BBC, they're not so great with their animation of animals and stuff. And like they can do like Doctor Who, it's pretty good. But do you remember when I was saying to you about? I was saying to you in one of our discussions about one of our Snake Star vs. Fresh Powder videos, and that there's something like, you know, in Primeval, you realise that bit with Black Leopard was like, it's quite similar. The BBC just can't seem to do animated animals that well, based on what I've seen. Like, the Watership Down trailer didn't look all that good, but that's my assumption of it. Anyway, if it's any good, let me know.
All right. So I'll see you guys next time for the for a brand new episode of the Fresh Air Show. So time to say goodbye, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Toodles.
You have been listening to the Fresh Air Show. Leave a comment down below or email Fresh Powder. See you next month for a whole new slew of content. I'm talking really fast right now because it's what they do at the end of the radio shows.